actually an interesting time to do sports talk radio because every 6 months, every year, you get like a real hot button issue. And when you walk into the studio, you're like, okay, this is not necessarily sports. It's explosive and people are going to get worked up and it could blow up on the internet. It could go viral. And when you walk in, you're like, can I say all that I want to say? So that's where I'm going to start because we have Tony Bonnici in here.
Hello there, everybody.
Tony, of course, longtime general manager, really the king of Lotus Broadcasting for years and years and years and years. And he's going into the Southern Nevada Sports Hall of Fame coming up 2 Fridays from now. And it's basically, there's a lot of reasons you should go into a Hall of Fame, but it's basically for what you've done for sports talk radio, which we'll talk about how that spilled over to being a factor in bringing bigger and bigger major league sports here over the years. So I'm completely fired up to have you in here. And I want to start on one of the, and I'm going to get back to this, but I want to start on this and we'll come around on it. One of the cool things I say about Lotus Broadcasting, I say it on the air and off, is that this place is unlike many others because the talent is backed up. Hard takes are thrown out there. Sometimes there's mistakes, right? Language faux pas. People are always getting offended, right? Certainly, I'm going to point to our studio with Comp, right? I mean, they set the tone on offending people. There's been some great radio over there. And we do it from time to time as well. But I will tell you, and I want to say it in front of you, you've always supported us. And I know behind the scenes, Tony, that you've gotten complaints. And a lot of times you don't even bring them to us. You just cover for us.
I was always, first of all, Steve, thank you for having me.
Sorry, that was a long intro. But I'm really big on free speech and expression and being able to do radio the right way.
Thanks. Steve, thanks for having me here, Griffin. Nice to meet you. Yes, ironically, Comp really taught me a lot because of the fact that if I wasn't dealing with complaints from listeners, I always thought there was something wrong with the talent, that they weren't pushing the buttons enough.
Like it wasn't working.
It was, yeah.
Oh, okay.
When my phone wasn't ringing on Comp during the morning show, I wondered, what are you guys doing? Are you mailing it in or what? So that kind of got me ready for when we were doing sports. And yeah, things happen, when people get excited and things come out of their mouth, that once it's out, and it is what it is. And so it really helped me. And I never wanted to stifle the talent. I never wanted any of you guys to be nervous about me. And so I wanted you to go and there were certain times, Steve, that I would step in and say, do you think you really need to call that UNLV college kid an idiot?
Right.
You know what I mean?
But I think, we can go to that one specifically. I thought you handled that really well because they had a guy named Perk Robinson, who's much different than the people over there now. And I don't think he got it, but I understood his side. And now we've kind of morphed into, now it seems like college athletes are kind of fair game. I don't think they're fair game, but this whole talk radio medium, it changes over the years. So,
well, in the fact that they want to be paid and all that has changed the game as well. When they were amateur athletes, it was a different animal, So not that I would say that, hey, they're open game and do it. Because again, they're college students. Mm-hmm. They're young men. They're boys pretty much. I mean, so
it's also important to remember, you may have to speak to them. Frankly, if you're talking about them and talking badly, you should be speaking to them.
Yeah.
You should be available to the coaches and the players. So let's talk about Tony's background. So Tony Bonnici, our big boss here for how long? What was the official tenure? Because you're still kind of part of the mix a little bit behind the scenes.
I worked for Lotus for 40 years.
That's amazing, Ron.
Yeah.
And this place was built on the powerhouse of FM music stations and then sports radio. You can tell us when it came along, but just your beginnings in radio, because you're more a sales side guy, but then obviously you had to get into all the programming stuff as a general manager. When did you get to Vegas? And then when did the radio thing really kick off?
So I got it. My wife and I got to Vegas in 1977 and she got in radio first, actually, and working for a rock station that went country. And I eventually decided that this is what I want to do. After being around a lot of the FM disc jockeys, I decided, this is what I want to do for a living. What I didn't realize is how fast tracked my career would go. I got in the business at about 25 years old, and I was a general manager here at 30. So at 30 years old, now what I inherited was a broken product. Comp at the time was in trouble and I had to rebuild it. And the strong station was 1460 AM, which was an oldie station. Okay. And doing well.
Okay.
Until an FM station went oldies. And that buried us. And then that's eventually led us into sports.
And the world of radio is fascinating because we're all a little bit off on the programming side. On-air people are all unique because to have the confidence to go on and the ego to go on, you got to have some bravado. A lot of people can't turn that off when they go off the air. I think there's also fragility with a lot of people so that they kind of cover it with the bravado. And then there's the sales side, and I've done sales, and their personalities as well. Actually, they're more similar to us than I think they ever realize.
Oh, I agree.
Because you're competitive when you do a talk show, or in the case of Craig Williams and the his rock show, like you're trying to beat other stations. You're competitive. A lot of times you want to beat the people on your own station. Salespeople, hey, it's every day you got to survive.
The industry as a whole is very competitive internally and outside the building. We're competing, with other companies, but then again, you're competing within yourself. You want to be, I was a wrestler, right? So I wanted our team to win, but I wanted to win my match first.
Yes.
I mean?
That's the most important thing.
If I won my match, I was upset if the team didn't win, but it wasn't as bad. So I was competitive because I wanted to win personally and I wanted the team to win. But that's the same thing here. On-air personalities, they want the whole station to kick butt, but they really want to win themselves.
We also want a lot of personal attention. We always feel like we're the ones getting job. And that's why I liken a radio station to a team, right? Hey, teammates don't agree sometimes because they want theirs. Sometimes they get jealous. So let's build on, and Tony Bonici's in here with us, going to the Southern Nevada Sports Hall of Fame, along with Jesse Leeds, and we're going to talk about Jesse in a little bit. Going sports when you did, and you can tell everyone the year you did, for you, we just mentioned the word competitiveness, right? It was about being competitive.
Yes.
So explain.
So, all right, it's early 90s, and we had a oldie station doing well, just got crushed by an FM because FM was hot and AM was doing what it was doing, and everybody gravitated to FM. So I didn't know what I was going to do with the station. And I happened to be reading the newspaper, and it was talking about how the sports station in town, which was a big station, was cutting off Donnie Logan's, the 51s, in the seventh inning to go to paid programming. And, it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way because it was the comments that was coming from senior citizens and such was, what happened? I was listening to the game. So I called Logan and said, hey, listen, man, if you have a problem, we'll air the games over here. Well, he went back to the other stations. They worked it all out. The following year, he came back and said, how about you guys? How can we do some business and can we move the games over here? Well, I'm 32 years old, 33 years old at that time, and I'm 34, maybe. I've got a rock station. I'm a guy, rock, sports. Jesse, what do you think? Let's do this. And we went at it. Yeah. And that's kind of the beginning. It was Don Logan. Then it was UNLV. And what we found out is a lot of the folks that we had great relationships with through the music station were the same people we were going to be dealing with in sports. Mm-hmm. And they knew that we were professional and we were going to take care of business and we were going to do it right. And so it really was quite easy because of the fact of the reputation that Jess and I had at the time.
And this whole thing is about providing entertainment, also paying service to the market. There's certain things we need to do as a radio group, and then got to stay in business. You got to make money. So when you talk about, hey, the people you already dealt with, well, those are potential advertisers with the now Aviators, 51s back then, or UNLV. So that's one thing.
Right.
What goes into the decision to go, all right, we're seeing all sports stations around the country. Had started back in New York, where I grew up in New Jersey, and I listened to WFAN back in 87. I go back to like 84, 83, listening to sports talk shows at night. That's a big decision to go, we're going to take a station, and now this whole thing is going to be programmed with sports.
Well, first of all, I came from Michigan, around the Detroit area, where we had sports radio when I left, and they had all the professional teams.
Yep.
Okay. So when I got to Vegas, and quite frankly, all we had was, Donnie Logan and the Triple Eight. I say Donnie Logan every time I mention that team because different owners have owned that. The thing that was consistent is Donnie Logan.
Right.
And I'll throw Chuck in there too, Chuck as well. And Donnie and Chuck made that thing happen. It's, players change, owners change. So the bottom line to it was Donnie and that group deserve a lot of credit for what was to come, what is here now, because it kind of showed other folks that, hey, listen, Vegas, they're showing up in bigger numbers than anywhere else in the country for AAA baseball in the heat. So quite frankly, I saw it as, it's just a matter of time. And, you think of the community involved, which that's what we're all here about. If we entertain the community, which that's what Don's doing. That's what we're doing here.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the Strip is doing. It's just, that's what it's all about.
Southern Nevada Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony. It's the 25th year. This is a big deal too, and it raises a ton of money. We're going to get into that on the way back. What it raises money for. There's a bunch of scholarships. I know Tony's got involvement in his own scholarship, and then we'll spend a couple of minutes on the legacy of getting major league teams here and building stations around them, and then also developing talents over the year. And I'll go back to the beginning of the conversation. There are times where if you pull the plug on a talent because they went over the line, that could end their career.
Right.
And that didn't happen here.